Hi everyone, this is UKManicLoomer and I'm here with a new designer's bracelet, and this one is called Syrian Hopes, and that is their Instagram page. Now I'm going to try and pronounce the name, and I'm sorry if I get it wrong. It's Zadam 2000. The details will be below in the description box if you'd like to check out the account as well as my own details. This is his rendition of his design and I think it's really pretty, and I have done my own mock-up as I normally do of it, and this is all done in opaques, and this is the 9-pin bar by 2, so it's a little bit shorter with the opaques, but I love the design, the way it flows. It's a really nice sturdy band. Okay, so without further ado, let's get on with it. As I said, it's a 9-pin bar by 2 length, okay, and it is set up the following way. So we go on the first pin bar, we're going to go across one, down diagonally one, down diagonally one, down diagonally one, up diagonally one, up diagonally one, up diagonally one, and across one, okay. This is sort of a medium tension band, but what I would recommend, as always, is to brace up to the best of your abilities, and then there's no problems, okay? So go ahead and get your loom ready while I'll get my bands, and we'll move on. Okay, so hopefully your loom now looks like this, and it's time to start with the border. So for this rendition, I'm going to be using the pearl white as my border. And we're simply going to start on the centre pin as normal, and we're going to go off to the left, diagonally up one, diagonally up one, diagonally up one again, across one, and then we're going to take it all the way to the end, okay? Then we're going to come back and we're going to do the right side, so we're going to go right diagonally up one, diagonally up one, diagonally up one. Sorry, no, that's fine. I thought there was a bit of a break in the band. And then across one, like so. And then we're going to take that all the way up to the end as well. So if I so you're going to be going up straight like that. Twisted bands, right, okay. And then when you get to the end, you're going to be doing a mirror image of the front part, so you'll be going diagonally 1, 2, 3, so you'll be stopping here on the 4th pin bar on the first pin, and you'll be going across once you've come up to this bit with a straight line, diagonally up, diagonally up, diagonally up, and you'll copy that on the opposite side. So go ahead and do that, and when you're ready, press play. Okay, so that's my border done. Next we're going to be doing backwards 7 pattern, and on this rendition here it is done in the red, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on the 2nd pin bar, 1st pin, and we're going to go diagonally up and out to the 1st pin bar like so. And then we're going to go from that pin bar we just finished on, and we're just going to go across inwards like that, and we've made a backwards 7. And I'm going to keep this all one colour for this rendition, so we're going to go on the 2nd pin bar, 2nd pin, and we're going to go diagonally up and out again, and then from that point we're going to just go across inwards, okay. One more, and we're going 2nd pin bar, 3rd pin, diagonally up and out. And then we're just going to go from the 1st pin bar to the 2nd pin bar across, like so. Repeat that all the way to the end, and we'll just do a few on this side as well. So on this one we're going to do the 8th pin bar, 1st pin, we're going to go diagonally up and out, and then we're going to go on the 9th pin bar to the 8th pin bar, and we're just going to go across inwards, okay. So 8th pin bar, 2nd pin, we're going to go diagonally up and out. 9th pin bar, 3rd pin, we're going to go across and in, okay. One more. On the 8th pin bar, 3rd pin, we're going to go diagonally up and out. From that pin we're going to go across and in, okay. So follow that simple pattern all the way to the end, and when you're ready, press play. Alright, so that is my backwards sevens done, and what you'll find at the end, there is only half a seven, so it's just the diagonal points. That's absolutely fine. Do the diagonals and leave it there. Okay, next we're just going to do some very basic straight lines, and they're going to be on our second pin bar and our eighth pin bar. And for this I'm going back to my border colour, which is my pearl whites. So going on the second pin bar, let's just bring that forward a bit so we can see it. We're just going to go straight up until we reach the end of this design, like so. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to go on the eighth pin bar and we're going to do the exact same thing. So go ahead and do your 2 lines and then I'll be right back. Alright, so that was the straight lines done all the way to the end. Next we're going to put on some zigzags, and I will be using my Sweet Fairy blue, okay, 600 count. And we're going to start on the second pin bar, and we're just going to go diagonally inwards to the third, from the third diagonally outwards to the second, second to third again, diagonally outwards to the second, and we're just going to repeat that all the way up. So nice common sequence there. And then we're going to go on the eighth pin bar and we're going to cross to the seventh, then we're going to go diagonally up to the eighth, diagonally up to the seventh, diagonally up to the eighth, diagonally up to the seventh, and then diagonally up to the eighth. And we're going to take that all the way to the end. So when you've done that, press play. Okay, so that's our zigzags done. Next we're going to be doing a distorted cross. So we're going to start on the third pin bar, first pin, and we're going to do a normal diagonal inwards, like so. Then we're going to go on the fourth pin bar, first pin, and we're going to do a long diagonal outwards, like that, okay? And then we're going to repeat that pattern all the way to the end. So we're going to go on the third pin bar, second pin, we're going to do a short inwards, and then we're going to go down 1 pin and we're going to do a long outwards, okay? So as you can see, it does look like a distorted cross or an X, okay? So now we're on the third pin bar, third pin, we're going to do a short one inwards, and then we're going to go one down, then we're going to do a long one outwards, okay? Repeat that pattern all the way to the end. Then we'll move on to this side. So we're going to go on the seventh pin bar and we're going to do a short diagonal inwards to the sixth pin bar, and then sixth pin bar, first pin, we're going to do a long diagonal outwards to the seventh pin bar, okay? So we'll do that again. We're on seventh pin bar, second pin, short one inwards, drop down one, long one outwards. Next one, short one inwards, drop one, long one outwards, like so. So go ahead and finish that all the way to the end and we will get started on the centre. Okay, be right back. Okay, so we're now into the centre of our band and we're going to start off with laying just 2 straight lines, and they will be on the fourth pin bar and the sixth pin bar. And I'm going to go back to my pearl whites, which I've used on my border and my single lines before. So just to get you started, fourth pin bar, we're going to go straight up until we hit the other side of the border. Then we're going to come back and we're going to do it on the sixth pin bar, and we're just going to keep going up until we hit the border again, okay? So go off and finish that, and when you're ready, press play. Okay, so the next parts are going to be long V's and A's, and they're all going to have cap bands on them. I'm telling you this now because you want to choose all 3 colours to go together. On this rendition I did the pink and the purple, but also you can see quite clearly the black cap band which is behind it. So you will need to choose all 3 colours to go in the middle first of all. For the one I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my purple, but this one is Deep Lilac Sweet. And then I'm going to go with the Fairy Pink Pastel Sweet Collection 600 count again, and then I'm going to do the blue 600 count for my cap bands underneath, okay? So let's get going. And I'm going to start off with my purples, I think. Yeah, I'm going to do my purples first. Alright, so we're going to go on that centre pin bar, so that is the 5th pin bar, first pin, and we're going to go and do a long stretch to the left. So long diagonal stretch to the left here. Then we go back to that pin and we're going to do a long stretch to the right. So that is your diagonals and that makes your V pattern. See if I can just zoom that in a little bit for you guys. Okay. Try and move it without the camera showing up on me. Right, okay. Then we're going to be doing the A. So the A is going to go, just having a think here, yeah, so it's 2 up here. So if we go from that there, so the 3rd middle pin bar, 3rd pin, and we're going to stretch it downwards to the left. Then we're going to go back on that pin and we're going to do a diagonal stretch down to the right. And we've just made our V and A, okay? We don't put the cap bands on yet, we're going to finish the V's and A's all the way to the end first. So I'm going to go back to my lilac, I'm going to go on my middle pin bar, 2nd pin this time, and I'm going to go stretch to the left, and then a long stretch to the right, like so. Then back to my pinks, and then we're going to go 1 pin bar above the last pink one, and we're going to do a long stretch to the left and down, and then a long stretch right and down, like so. It's a bit awkward for me to do it that way. And then we're just going to go from where we've just put those pinks on with our A's, we're just going to drop down 1 and we're just going to grab that pin and we're going to do a long stretch up to the left, back on that pin, long stretch up to the right. Okay, I'll do 1 more A with you, then I'll go off camera. So we're going to go from that one we just done, sorry, the last one we did on the A's, we're going to go 1 up there. We're going to go from the centre, we're going to do a long stretch diagonally down, and then we're going to go back on it, a long stretch diagonally right and down, like so, okay? So repeat that pattern all the way to the end. So it's the V's, then the A's, V's and A's, V's and A's, all the way to the end. You will find that you've got a small gap at the end of this here before we close off the pattern. I will pop back on camera and show you what to do with that when I've got to that point too. Alright, be right back. Okay, so this is the bit that I was talking about. So I've just put my long V on there, and next I'm going to be doing my pink A. So I'm going to go onto the last pin on the middle bar, bring that down to the left, and then bring it down to the right, like so. But there isn't a wide V here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a small V like so, just to keep the gap closed. And then that's how it's going to get finished off, alright? And next I'm going to be putting the cap bands on. And like I said, I'm going to do them in my Pastel Fairy Blue. And I'm going to do them with my fingers because I find it the most easiest, but if you've got your own method, obviously go ahead and do so. This is going to be a triple cap band. I find it is the best. So 1, 2, 3 on my fingers, and then we're going to just pop them on every single pin on this pin bar, like so. I won't stay on for the whole lot because it takes a while to do. Pop that one on. I'm just going to turn the loom around because we've put all our bands on now apart from the cap bands. You're going to need 1 on every centre row, so we'll just bring that out again so it'll show you a bit better. 1 on every centre, and then we are going to need 1 on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th here. That's what I've done on my earlier renditions. So you're going to need it from the 3rd to the 7th, okay? So go ahead and do that, and when you're ready, press play. Alright then, so it's now time to do the stitching up, and we're going to go on that first pin. So you should have turned it around, and we're going to go on the first pin of the centre bar, and we're going to grab that top, which is now a V but would have been your A, and we're going to bring it back on itself like so. So if you did the same as me, it would be on your left side. Then we're going to go into that band again, and we're going to grab the next V band and bring it back to itself like so. Alright, and then we're going to go into the band that goes, the pin that's up next, and we're going to grab the top band, which will be your small A but was your V, and make sure the cap band doesn't fall off, and then we're going to just bring that back on itself like so, back into that cap band, grab the next band and bring it back to itself like that. Okay, and we're going to do that pattern all the way up, so where my pinks are, or my V's now, we're going to go up, and where the A's are now, we're going to go down. Okay, so we're going into the second pin again, going to grab that top pink V, bring it back to itself, go into pin again and grab the next band and bring it back to itself like so. Okay, so you're not crossing them over or anything, they're just literally going back to the other side of themselves. Okay, next we're going to go into the next pin up because there's no more bands here, and we are going to grab that top band, which should be your purple A. I'm going to bring that long stretch back down to itself, go into the next band, do a long stretch back to itself like that, and that's your second part done. Okay, now we're going to go and do the long stretch up again because we're back on our pink V's. Top band again, bring it back to itself, go in, grab that band, bring it back to itself to the right like so. Okay, all those bands are now gone, so we're going to go up to the next pin, and we're going to grab that top band, which should be your A's that are going to go back down to themselves, grab that band again, back down to itself on the right hand side, go in again, grab the next band which goes back up to itself, go in again and grab that band that goes back up to itself. And then there's no bands in this one anymore, so we move on to the next one. The top bands go back to itself, then the next one goes up. Okay, so go ahead and finish that off. In fact, what I think I might do, yeah, I'm going to do one more in a zoomed position just to give you a little bit more. So now we're going to go into this pin, and we're going to grab that top band, bring it through the cap band, bring it back on itself like so. Then we're going to go in and grab that top one, bring it back to itself. Then we're going to go in, get the next band, which brings it back to itself to the left. And we'll get the last band in that pin, and it goes back to itself right. Okay, no more pin bands here in this pin, so we go up to the next one, and we repeat these sequences. So if it's the top band, go back on itself, next band, go back on itself, and so forth. Okay, so your purples in my case would go down and my pinks go up. Right, I hope you understand. When I've finished, I'll come back. Alright, so the loom should be looking like this now, and that is the centre part done. Next we're going to do is the centre part border, which is those two straight lines on our 4th and 6th pin bar. So we're just going to go into the 4th pin bar, first peg, pull back all those bands and get to your straight colour, and we're just going to bring it forwards like so and back on itself, go in, grab it again, go forwards. Very, very, very basic. Just make sure you go into all of those bands and not through them. Okay, then we're going to go on to the 6th pin bar. We're going to pull back the cap band and all the other bands on top, and grab that straight. There you go. and bring it forwards. That one's got to be the toughest one you're going to go through because of the cap band there. And we're just going to keep going all the way to the end with our straight lines, and then when you get to the other side we'll move on. Right, so the next part is going to be this distorted X, and we're going to start off with a long diagonal part. So we're going to go on the left side, our third pin bar, first peg, we're going to go behind that triple cap band, grab that long one, long diagonal, and bring it inwards and back to itself like so. Then we're going to drop down one pin and we're just going to grab that short diagonal and bring it outwards to itself like that. Okay, let's see if I can just zoom in a little bit more so you get some more clarity. Okay, so we're going to go third pin bar, second pin this time, grab that long diagonal, bring it inwards and back to itself, drop down one pin, grab that short diagonal green, just get in all those pins there, that's it, and back to itself like so. Then from that pin you want to grab the long diagonal, bring it inwards and back to itself, drop back down one peg and then bring it out and back to itself. Okay, one more. So from that pin we're going to grab the long diagonal, bring it back to itself, inwards, drop back down one, go in all those bands, grab that short diagonal and bring it back to itself. And then you're just going to repeat that all the way to the end. Okay, we'll do this side as well. So we're going to go into this cap band. So this is now the 7th pin bar, first pin. We're going to grab that long diagonal and we're going to bring it back to itself to the center. Then we're going to drop back down one pin. We're going to grab that short diagonal, bring it back to itself outwards. Okay, so the long diagonals always go inwards and the short ones always go out. Then we're going to go into that same pin we just finished off with, and we're going to do the long diagonal inwards and back to itself. You might have to push these bands down to give yourself room. From there we're going to drop down one, we're going to grab that green band and bring the short diagonal back to itself. One more and then I'll go off camera. From that pin we're going to go and grab the top band, which is your green long diagonal, if it'll let me do it, there you go, and bring it up and back to itself. And then we're going to drop back one, grab that short diagonal and bring it back to itself, and then repeat the process all the way to the end. So once you've done that, press play. Alright, so that is that part, the distorted X is done. Next we're going to move on to the zigzags, and let me just see if I can zoom in for you again. Okay. I'm not too sure how clear they are because obviously these are blue and then the back plates are blue as well, but we'll try. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the third pin bar, second pin, and we're going to grab that first zigzag, and we're just going to bring this one back to itself like so. Then we're going to go back into that pin and we're going to grab the top zigzag, and instead of bringing it back to itself we're going to bring it one higher. So it's going to go a long diagonal upwards. Then we're going to go to the next pin up, we're going to grab the next zigzag and we're going to take that one further downwards. So if it would have gone back here, it's now going to go back here. So it's going to go back on the first pin. Okay, and we're going to do that all the way up. So when we got our next zigzag part, this is the top band and therefore it's going to go one higher than itself. Then we're going to go into the next pin up, we'll take that top band which is the bottom band, and that's going to go one lower than what it would have done if it went back on itself. Take that top band of the zigzag and that goes one higher than what it would. Okay, one more time, so that bottom band goes one lower than it would normally and then one higher than it would normally. Okay, so we're going to cross them over all the way to the end, and we're going to do the same with this side. So we're going to go into the 7th pin bar, second pin, we're going to grab the bottom band, I should say the top band, which is the bottom band, and we're going to just bring it back to itself because it can't go one lower. Then we're going to grab that next band and we're going to bring it one higher than itself, like so. Go into the next pin up, grab that top band, which should be your bottom one. I think these are a bit twisted. Give it a bit of swirl if it needs to. Right. So it would go back to here normally, but we're going to take it one down. So back to the first pin on this case. Then we're going to go back in and we're going to take it one higher diagonally, like so. Go back into that pin, grab that top band, diagonally down, one lower, and then diagonally up, one higher, okay? So repeat that pattern all the way to the end, and when you finish, just press play. Okay, I just thought I'd jump in at the end here. You will notice that the band at the top, last one, obviously it can't go one higher like the bottom one, so it's just going to go back on itself, okay? I'm sure you figured that one out though. Next we're going to be doing we're going to do some of the border, and we're going to bring it out to these two lines here. So let me just zoom out a bit more. So we're going to go into that cap band and we're going to grab that top border, which in my case goes to the left, and we're just going to bring it back to itself. Then we're going to go into all of those bands, get that bottom band, pull it through and bring it back to itself. Then we're going to go in, grab that bottom band, bring it through and bring it back to itself like so, and then we're going to stop there, okay? Then we're going to go back to the center pin bar and we're just going to go out to the right this time, following the first pins all the way till you get to your straight lines, which are stopping on the 2nd and 7th pin here, okay? Then we're going to go in to the 2nd pin bar, 1st pin, and we're going to go behind all those bands until we get to our straight line and bring it forward like so, and then we're just going to keep bringing that one forwards, okay? And make sure you get in with all the bands. Go all the way to the end, and then we'll come back onto our 8th pin bar and we'll grab that forward line, and again we'll just go into all of those bands and just bring it forward each time like so. So go ahead and do that, and when you're ready we'll move on to the next section. Okay, so that's my straights done to the end, and I've pushed the bands down because we've got another layer to go yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into that front part of the border, and we're going to go into the 2nd pin bar, 1st pin, and grab that last bit of border and bring it back to itself like so. Then we're going to just pop to the other side and do that part as well. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into that 1st pin bar, 1st pin, grab that diagonal and bring it inwards back to itself like so. Then from that pin we are going to grab the crossbar, and we're just going to go across and back to itself on the 1st pin bar. From that pin we're going to grab the diagonal, we're going to bring it back to itself on the 2nd pin bar, go into that pin, grab that cross band, oh, just the cross band. Well, I think these have got mixed up. And then, nope, there's always going to be one part, isn't there? There, got it, that's fine. Cross back to the 1st pin bar. 1st pin bar, we're going to take that diagonal and bring it back to itself to the 2nd, and then again go into all those bands, grab that cross and go back to the 1st, okay? So we're going to take that all the way up to the end. Then we're going to come back to this side. So we're going to go into the 9th pin bar, we're going to grab that diagonal and take it up and inwards. From that pin, go in and grab that crossbar, grab that band and bring it outwards. go into there, grab that diagonal band and bring it inwards, go in again, cross outwards. Okay, so follow that pattern all the way to the end, and then we'll come back and do the border, and then we're done. All right, be right back. All right, so that's all of it done now. All we have to do is just finish stitching up the outer border, and it'll be time to take it off our looms. So we're going to go into that first pin bar, first pin, and we're just going to grab that bottom band and just bring it forward, and we're just going to keep doing that all the way until we get to the end. Like so. Nearly there. Okay, so from that point we're just going to grab the bottom band, we're going to go across one, grab that bottom band again, go diagonally up one, go in and grab that bottom band. Make sure you do grab the bottom band, and you go through all of those bands and go diagonally up one, and then back into the middle. Okay, so then I'm just going to go and I'll do the other side very, very quickly, and we'll put the C-clip through together, and then I'll come off camera to take it off. So just keep going up, grabbing that last band so it loops and stitches up all of these bands together. I always find this side slightly harder to do for some reason than the opposite side. Want to make sure you pull back all those bands and go right inside and not on the outside of them, or else you won't stitch them up and it will fall apart. Right, nearly there. So we're going to go in, I'm going to go all the way down, grab that bottom one, go diagonally up. See, some of them just pushed off there. There you go. Go in. I go at a slight angle when I grab these ones. It just helps you get the bottom band. Go and grab that one, and we have finished. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick inspection down the middle to make sure there's nothing hanging and looking loose. As you can see, it's quite bowed here, so I'm not lucky enough to have any of those 6 pin bar braces yet, but they are on order for myself. Right, okay, so that looks great. So I'm just going to bring it like that so I can see it as well as yourselves. Bring it in a little bit more, that's perfect. And now I'm going to just grab a C-clip and another pearl white. Okay, I'm going to pop my hook in and grab all those bands into it so it's catched every single one. Put the pearl white on, bring the hook around so it doesn't catch on any of the bands coming back through, and then just hook both ends on the hook there. Okay, what I like to do is just put my 2 fingers in, split it apart like so, and then clip it on. Okay, so that's all done. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it all off the loom because it will take a little bit of time, and when I'm finished I will show you the finished band. Alright, so I will be back in a moment. Okay, so this is what it looks like off the loom, and as you can see it's a very pretty design. I think I would try and put a thicker band on these distorted X's just to make them look a little bit fuller. But yeah, it's a great design, and I think I can play around with this quite a lot to get the right look. I think this side is the best side just because of these distorted X's don't look so shallow and it's more flatter, and I just really love purple, that's my favourite colour, so this purple shows up more on this side, whereas this side here you've got the sort of a divot here and it caves in, so I more prefer this side I think. But yeah, this is a 2 loom length and this is nowhere near my length here. So what I would recommend is if you wanted one for an adult to go around, I would take it all the way to the end of your loom here, then put an additional 3rd loom here, but just go from here and then bring it in and then 3 diagonals, and don't do any more than that. So you're just putting that extra bit here that's missing and up, and that should just finish it off for you. So this is the one I've just done. This is the one I did earlier in the opaques. Like I said, fabulous design, and I'm going to try and say the name again. It's Zedam 2000, and the details will be below in the description box, and I'm very, very sorry if I've said that wrong. And this is Syrian Hopes, and it is his first design, so I'm really, really proud that you chose me to do it, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. So without further ado, I'm going to have to say goodbye, so bye!